Oh, hi. I'm Dan Dunn. Welcome to NightCap Live. Tonight, I'm going to be drinking Scotch with Marc Summers. I got to tell you, that's something I never could have dreamed of when I used to watch Summers on Double Dare back in the 80s. Back then, I figured if I was destined to drink with a game show host, it was going to be Wink Martindale. Tic-tac-toe, yo. Yeah. So this is the 16th episode of NightCap Live that I have hosted. That's 4 months, which feels like 10 years in quarantine time. It's true. But seriously, I enjoy doing this. I look forward to doing it every week. And to be honest, the reason I'm even here in the first place is a guy from Flaviar named Soroush Amiri liked what I was all about, and he reached out to me months ago, and he offered me this gig. And he has produced every one of the 16 episodes that I have hosted, and he has done a hell of a job doing it. And I just found out that tomorrow is Soroush's last day with Flaviar. He has decided to leave the Flaviar nest and pursue other opportunities. By that, I mean he's finally going to chase his dream of being a featured skater for the Ice Capades. It's beautiful. It really is. Chase your dreams, kids. Just chase your dreams. By the way, if there are any kids watching, get the hell off right now. You're not allowed to be here. In all seriousness, though, Soroush, I want to thank you for bringing me on board, man, for being a cool boss, an even better friend. I wish you good luck with those ice skating lessons. And remember, it's not about how many times you fall. It's about how ridiculous you look when you land on your ass. Okay? Remember that going forward. What else? I always want to remind you to check out my podcast, What We're Drinking with Dan Dunn. On the latest episode, I have legendary filmmaker George Gallo. He wrote Midnight Run. He wrote Bad Boys, among many other classic films. And coming next week, a 2-part special on What We're Drinking, in which I'll reveal my list of the 20 most important cocktails ever. Probably going to go down as the most profound list in the history of drinking. So you really don't want to miss it. It's available everywhere. Podcast stream. Also want to remind you to check out past episodes of this NightCap Live. It's right here on Flaviar's YouTube channel. We've had a ton of great guests, and you should check it out. If you have any questions or comments for us during the show, the chat box is next to the window. I think it's that way. If you want to send questions for me or Marc Summers, maybe hit us up with some brain teasers. All we ask is that you refrain from using the F word, unless it's Flaviar. You can use that one. Also, dangling modifiers are frowned upon. If you put those in there, you're out. We do a giveaway every week. We give away a Flaviar membership, which is worth countless thousands of dollars. I can't even tell you. I get mine for free, but I'm going to read this because I always get a lot of crap that I don't say the right thing. So Flaviar, of course, is a club that brings together fine spirits enthusiasts from all over. Every quarter, Flaviar sends you samples and provides access to exclusive, highly allocated bottles you won't find anywhere else, unless you're a master detective. Sorry. Let me have some whiskey. Let me just get myself right. And Flaviar is always working to keep you educated and entertained like this. And it's an amazing way to bond with other adult beverage enthusiasts such as yourself over the miracle that we call alcohol. Okay, how are you going to win that Flaviar membership? All right, here's how you're going to do it. I don't need to tell you this, but Marc Summers hosted the show Double Dare on Nickelodeon. Double Dare. And he's also hosted and produced lots of shows for the Food Network. He's a food guy, as well as being someone who likes to quiz children on television. So tonight, throughout the course of the show, I'm going to ask Marc 10 questions that he once asked contestants on Double Dare. That's right. I sat down today, not kidding you. I sat down and I watched old episodes of Double Dare, and I chose questions that Marc asked. I'm going to ask Marc those questions tonight. Now, keep in mind it was a long time ago. Does Marc remember? Does he remember how he tortured those teens? Well, tonight we're going to find. Tonight we flip the switch. Tonight the joke's on you, Marc Summers. See what you're made of. So to win this Flaviar membership, you at home, you watching, I want you to guess how many out of 10 do you think Marc's going to get right? The number of questions out of the 10 I'm going to ask him that Marc is going to get right. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a few who are going to get the correct answer. So the tiebreaker here, since Marc loves food, is I also want you, so you're going to write, if you think it's 5, you go 5. And then what food stuff would Marc most like to be snacking on while we're drinking Scotch, which is what we're going to be drinking tonight. So it's the number of questions out of 10 you think Marc's going to get right, plus a snack that you think Marc would like to be having while drinking Scotch. And Marc will determine which snack he thinks is the closest to what is near and dear to him. And if that's you, then you'll be the winner. Okay. What are we drinking on the show tonight? Well, we're drinking Scotch, and it's a box called The Flavors of Scotch, Volume 2. Volume 2, not to be confused with Volume 1. They broke up. It was sad. It was terrible. You should watch the documentary on VH1. It was crazy. Crazy shit went down. So this is Volume 2, and I'm going to tell you what's in Volume 2. We've got a Stronach 10-year-old, a Tullibardine 225 Sauterne finish, a cast finish, and a Port Ascaig 110 proof. And I am going to thoroughly get into those whiskeys with Marc Summers, and you get to come along for the ride. So I think without further ado, we bring him on. As I mentioned, he's an American television personality. He hosted Double Dare. He hosted Unwrapped on the Food Network. He's produced a bunch of shows for the Food Network. I spoke with him yesterday. He's a solid individual, as far as I know. We'll see how he reacts when he has a little whiskey in him. Please welcome to NightCap Live, Marc Summers. How are you, Marc?
I'm fine. I don't know how solid I'm going to be here after I've got 3 little bottles here of booze, but we'll see how that goes. By the way, opening night of baseball, I'm wearing my Red Sox hat, my favorite team. Although it's going to be a weird year, there's no question about that.
It's already been one.
Yeah.
Now, are you from the Boston area originally?
Now, I went to college there. I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. We had an American Association team, the Indianapolis Indians, which I guess you couldn't even say these days. And we were the farm club initially of the Chicago White Sox and then the Cincinnati Reds. But when I moved to Boston in 1971, I lived across from Fenway Park and I became a fan.
Okay. And you mentioned yesterday you've lived all over the place, right? You lived in my hometown for a little bit, Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, I lived in Philly for 12 some years. It's where we produced a show called Dinner Impossible and then a show called Restaurant Impossible. And I just moved out of there a couple of years ago. One of my favorite cities, probably one of the best food towns in the country, perhaps in the world. New York, I've lived in San Francisco. I've lived in Los Angeles, Orlando. So, yeah, I've lived many places. I'm currently on the West Coast, although I generally prefer the East Coast.
Yeah, you mentioned the Philly dining scene. I believe, was it last year, Food and Wine magazine? I think Marc Vetri, right? He's a restaurateur from Philly. Was his restaurant the #1 restaurant on their list? He was up there. I know that.
Yeah, he's one of my dear friends and the king of all Italian food. I think he was voted outstanding Italian chef in the country. His pizza is off the charts. He makes a pasta with chicken livers to die for. The man's a genius. But Steven Starr owns about 20 restaurants there. There's so many great restaurants in the Philly area, and I lived right downtown, so every night I could make a left outside of my building and have a choice of some amazing food.
So all through college, I worked as a bellman at the Rittenhouse Hotel. I'm sure you've been right on Rittenhouse Square. I had I used to have to wear the white gloves and the suit, and I was a bellman.
Who was the most famous person you met when you were doing that?
Well, they made the movie, I'm going to date myself now, but they made the movie Philadelphia when I was working there. And so they all lived in the hotel. So Denzel Washington, Tom Hanks certainly would be up there. In fact, an interesting story, we used to, and I probably shouldn't admit this now, well, they can't fire me, I'm already gone. So we used to deliver things to the rooms. And, you had the key to get in and you drop things off. So one day I have to deliver something to Jonathan Demme, the director's room. And I walk in there, and in a roundabout way, this is how I kind of ended up out here in Hollywood. So I went into his room and I put the thing on his table there, and I saw a stack of scripts on his desk. And I'd never, I'm Rube. I lived in Philly. I never knew anything about Hollywood. I'd never seen a screenplay in my life. And I plucked the first script off the top of the pile, and I thought I'd just flip through it, start reading the script and going. I'm like, Jesus, gripping script. And I'm reading it, and I can't put it down. My buzzer's going off. They want me to. So I kept finding excuses to go up to his floor, let myself in his room, and
really,
I'm going to finish this script, right? That's how much I love the script. And I did finish it. And he ended up making that movie, and it's a very famous movie. Can you guess what script I read?
No, what was
Demme.
No idea.
The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
That was I think it was his next movie after Philadelphia. And I read that thing and I went, my God.
That's so crazy that you went up and did. I can imagine. I worked at the Sheraton Hotel in Boston when I was going to school there. And if we would have been caught doing that, we would have been thrown in jail, for God's sakes. You can't.
I'm many years after the fact, I'm admitting that what I did was wrong, but I couldn't help myself. When I started reading that thing, I got 10, 15 pages in, and I thought, I gotta know what happens here. And so I read the whole thing throughout the course of the day, and that kind of was the first thing that I thought, wow, this is pretty cool, this whole movie making business. So yeah.
Very cool.
So anyway, Mark, we're going to be drinking some whiskey, some Scotch. Yep. Would you consider yourself an aficionado, a newbie to Scotch? Where are you on the spectrum?
I'm a newbie. I started off drinking wine when I first moved out to Southern California. We used to go to Napa and Sonoma quite a bit and got into that. Petite Syrahs were my favorite, still are. And then started drinking vodka. And it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years ago when my wife and I went to Scotland and went to a distillery called Bladnoch, Bladnoch, in this very tiny town. And I didn't know much about Scotch at all. Don't even know why I was actually on this tour. And kind of got sold on that. In fact, I just checked. I still have one more bottle up in my cabinet, which is kind of fun. So I'm not an expert on this, but I'm ready to give it a shot. I got 3 bottles here that you sent me. So should we start with letter A, rather?
Yeah, let's do letter A. That's the Stronach 10-year-old. Okay. Now I'm going to take it here and put it in my little glass. Now, Stronach. All right, you got it. You already poured. Let me try to get a little nose on this. You first thing you want to do is nose this thing. So, Stronach was a distillery that was active, I think, in the early 1900s. Closed down. So this, I believe they're making this whiskey now at a distillery called Ben Rinnes, is where they're actually producing the Stronach right now. Just so everybody knows that out there, it's not. Which happens quite often in Scotland. You're going to get labels that are made, and in fact, we have another one here coming up that are made at other distilleries with a different label on it, a different name on it. So, yeah, this nose on this, it's a very. I get some biscuits, some honey, a little bit of that, a little bit of the heather malt going.
It's not super strong though. I've had some whiskeys that are like knock your socks off, so I'm going to give this a shot.
Yeah, this is. Let's take a look.
Yeah, you could drink this all night. It's kind of buttery.
It's 43% alcohol, so you're talking 86 proof. Not that too much oomph to it, which is nice. I would say that this has a almost dessert-like quality to it a little bit, right? There's like cookies going on, but a little bit of spice on it as well.
I was going to say it kind of tastes like Lorna Doones. Remember those?
The cookies. That is it, right? You nailed it. Yeah. That is probably, yeah.
That's what it tastes like to me. It's good. I could drink this. No problem.
I mean, I like you said, I'm finding this to be a very approachable whiskey, a very easy whiskey to drink. So maybe if you don't have a lot of experience with drinking Scotch, this could be a real good entry-level Scotch for you.
I would agree. Quite
I
good.
want to remind everybody out there again, because normally you can have time to chime in on the show all throughout the entire show to win the membership to Flaviar. But on this episode, I'm going to start firing off questions to Marc soon from Double Dare. 10 questions I'm going to ask him he actually asked contestants on Double Dare many years ago. See if he can get them right. You at home got to guess how many questions out of 10 you think Marc will get right. And the tiebreaker is, what food item would Marc most like to be snacking on right now while he's drinking scotch? I'm going to say you got about 2-3 minutes left, and then we're cutting it off, because once I start asking him the questions, you can no longer enter. So think about it. Look at this man. Look at him. He's a smart man. He's a Red Sox fan. They've won a lot of World Series. He knows what he's doing. He hosted the show. He's already asked these questions. I can't see how he could possibly get any of them wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Some of them 30 years ago, and keep in mind, I'm drinking scotch, so don't bet much.
I don't remember. Marc, I've had people come up to me and like I've written stuff or talked about stuff on shows, and they'll go, "Oh, when you talked about this is like a week ago," and I'm like, "What? When did I say that?" So we'll forgive you if you get a few wrong on those questions.
I get wrong. I have a feeling.
Do you ever find when you were doing it, like back in the day, where you're kind of on autopilot, where it's just like, I don't even know what I'm asking here right now?
First couple of years, no. We shot for 8 years, 525 episodes. So I think when we got into year 6, I had to be careful not to go on automatic pilot, because the contestants are the stars, and by that time we were doing Family Double Dare, and we had celebrities on as well. And so you can never phone it in. But we would shoot 6 shows a day, so you always have to make sure that you're bringing your A game and not screwing off.
How do you get up for that? Like when you get to show number 4, are you starting to get worn down a little bit? What do you do?
Well, the way we used to shoot the show is we would shoot 3 upfront games and then shoot 3 obstacle courses, break for lunch, do 3 upfront games and 3 obstacle courses. So it was difficult because we'd go into episode 5 and I didn't remember who won what and what happened in the show, and I'd have to have the producers remind me. And we did it that way because it was just quicker. You could get 6 done that day. If we did it from top to bottom, sometimes we could only get 4, and it's all about the bottom line and turning out as many shows as possible. And I think when we went in once in January, finished up in May, we shot 130 episodes in like 4 or 5 months. So it's intense. People think this is easy, but you actually get paid for many things other than asking questions.
Mm-hmm. And how involved were you in the production of the show as well? Like, were you?
When we were in Philadelphia, not so much, but when we moved down to Orlando at Universal Studios, I was the exec producer. So I was responsible for everything from hiring, firing, editing, the whole deal. So the last, I'm going to say 250, 300 episodes, they were all my baby.
Okay. And again, I want to remind everybody to check in with us, questions, comments, anything you want to ask Marc. Do you get a lot of people coming up to you from back in the day that are now fully formed adult human beings going, I grew up with you?
Yeah, we just did Double Dare came back. We shot 60 new episodes for Nickelodeon. I was exec producer and the sidekick to a lady by the name of Liza Koshy because they thought I was too old. We can have another conversation about that. But I took it on the road, and we did 70 personal appearances over 18 months, which we just shut down in December. And we were filling 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 seat arenas. And it was mostly, I was going to say 50, 60% grown-ups dragging their kids along because they wanted to relive their childhood and have their kids experience what they experienced. So, more adults than kids, actually.
I'm still stuck on the fact that, are you suggesting that Hollywood cares about age? Marc, are you saying since when?
Yeah, let me just say that one day the person I just mentioned got a little sick, and I filled in, and the ratings went up 25%. So you would have thought they would have looked at those numbers and said, "Oh my gosh, maybe we should put him back on." But hey, what's done is done, and I'm perfectly happy up here in Santa Barbara, no problems. Trust me.
Well, I write, and I've had some Hollywood projects go, and I've had my manager say, "Yeah, you need to probably fudge your age a little." And I'm like, "But I'm the writer. I'm not even on camera." It's like, "Yeah, but they care." Why? Why do they care?
It's the only business in the world that the more experience you have, the less they want you. So, get used to it. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, I know there's some young whippersnapper out there right now looking at me going, someday I'll have that job. All right, so here it is. I can't
Well, let me
wait.
interrupt you. One thing. Do you remember the comedian Jack Benny?
Yes.
Okay, so Jack Benny always claimed he was 39 years old. And the reason that was, even back in the 40s and 50s, was when you were 40 years old back then, they thought your career was over with. So he started it off as a joke and it became a signature piece for him. But that's how it all started. Even back that many years ago, the reason Jack Benny claimed to be 39 all the time is if you were 40, you were done. So it's been going on forever.
By the way, the fact that you asked me if I knew who Jack Benny is and I said yes, my career is over now. That video exists. Really. He knows who Jack Benny is. Screw that guy. Never working with him.
I was at NBC not too long ago pitching a show, and there was a kid across the table, and I mentioned Johnny Carson, and he kind of went, and I said, "You don't know who Johnny Carson is?" And he said, "I've heard of him." So, I wanted to shoot myself in the head at that point, but that's a real story.
Oh, I was in before the quarantine happened, I was in a bar in Venice, and Hey Jude came on the jukebox. And there were a couple of young ladies there, and probably early 20s, and somebody said, you know who this is? And not a one of them knew who it was.
Nobody knew.
Hey Jude.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Okay. I'm so excited to do this because I spent a lot of time doing this today. So if you're at home now, this is your last chance. We are cutting it off right now. How many questions out of 10 is Marc Summers going to get right? Double dare questions. Is Marc Summers good? These are actual questions that he asked on the show back in the 80s, early 90s. I'm going to start firing them off at him right now. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds. How many is he going to get right out of 10? And then what the tiebreaker is, what would he like to be snacking on while he's drinking his scotch? We'll give you 30 seconds. Mark and I will silently sip our scotch and ponder what it was like being young. Let's both do that. We'll just sit there and go,
oh my, that's tasty.
By the end, we're going to be crying, you and I. Remember when I was so young when I broke into Jonathan Demme's room and illegally read that screenplay.
I was on Howard Stern once, and my wife was afraid I was going to talk about our sex life, and she said to me today, "If you're drinking and they're asking questions, you better be careful." So I'm going to be very cautious here.
Oh, we'll get there, Mark. Don't worry. I always get there. Yeah. Okay. Keith, I'm telling you, Keith, the director, Keith, we're cutting it off right now. Cutting it off. Anybody that doesn't come in right now. Oh wait, he's saying I should ask. So I should ask this question to give people a little more time. Chris Maxwell said, I need Summers to give me the recipe for green slime Manhattans.
All right, I could do that. Well, see, the original green slime was vanilla pudding, applesauce, green food coloring, and some oatmeal. So, I suppose you could take any one of these scotches that I have in front of me, add just a teaspoon, maybe a quarter teaspoon of applesauce to sweeten it up, and just a dab of vanilla pudding, and a drop of green food coloring. Mix it up, and I bet there you go. That would work.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Next show, we're going to have you back on. We're going to do that again. All right, here we go. Mark, how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling ready? Are you ready? It's your shot.
Ready.
You're on double dare now.
I'm ready to be embarrassed because I know I'm going to screw all these up. But let's go for it.
No, I don't think it's possible, but we'll see. All right, here we go.
Okay.
This is a question that Mark once asked on Double Dare.
Mm.
I'm going to ask it of you. Mark, per ounce, what has the most calories? Good and Plenty, plain M&Ms, or Three Musketeers per ounce?
Which has the most calories?
Good and Plenty, plain M&Ms, or Three Musketeers?
Well, Good and Plenty is a licorice. Licorice are generally the least caloric, so I'm going to eliminate those. It's between M&Ms and Three Musketeers. I would say Three Musketeers.
I wish we had a buzzer or something. We could buzz you out because that is incorrect.
Of course.
The answer to the question is Good and Plenty.
Really?
Good, according to the folks at Double Dare. And if you can't believe them, who can you believe? Right?
Wow. Because, people sometimes think of if they have to have candy when they're on a diet, that licorice is the thing they go for. Wow, that's fascinating to me.
And I think the kids got it right.
Did they really?
Yeah, I think the kids got her. The episode I was watching, these kids were very aggressive, man. They were, a lot of them go for the dare. These kids were going right in. They were answering the questions. And by the way, I'm trying to remember how it works. So huge cash. I remember you'd be like, you're going to be at $80. Is that what they got? Did they get to keep the money? So if they won $100, they got $50 each.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they got to keep all that. Yeah, the rules. I'm going to ask you a question. If you don't know the answer, think the other team doesn't have a clue, you can dare them to answer it for double the dollars, but be careful because they can always double dare you back for 4 times the amount. And then you either have to answer that question or take the physical challenge.
See, I tried to figure out a way to incorporate the whole double dare thing, and then I was like, this is way too much work for me right now. And it might require me getting slimed at some point, so I didn't want to do that. All right. I'm going to try. So you got that wrong. I don't want to leave a sour taste in your mouth. We're going to go right into question number 2 because I want you to feel positive before we get to the next Scotch. Mark, what Greek goddess sprang from the head of Zeus?
This I know because my wife is Greek, and most people pronounce it Athena, but the Greek pronunciation is Athena. Am I correct? I hope.
You are correct, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, and for your efforts, you win. You win some Scotch. Here we go. We get to move on to the next one on our list. See, it's a fun game. Way more fun when you're playing with adult.
Tell me about this.
Yeah, so this is Tullibardine, which is the 225 Sauterne finish, and Sauterne, as you know, is a white wine from the Bordeaux region. It's a sweet white wine. So they're finishing that in the cask. The 225 actually refers to, it's not the age on this whiskey, it refers to the number of liters in the barrel that they're finished in the Sauterne barrel. So what you're going to get, have you had Sauterne, the wine?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's very sweet, actually.
It's a very sweet wine. So I think what's going to happen here is that it's like you're aging your whiskey in a cross between a tawny port cask and a sherry cask. That's sort of the effect that it's going to have here.
So it's going to be really sweet. Is this going to be a sweet Scotch?
No, I don't think so. And I'm trying it for the first time too. I can say that on the nose, I'm actually getting a little bit of like a citrus zest thing going on the nose. But there's also
very smooth. It's very smooth.
Yeah, it's sweeter. You're definitely getting a little sweetness there. It's kind of a almost like I don't want to say this to turn people off, but not cotton candy, but it has that, it tastes like candy a little bit, but not. It's
got a thicker consistency than the first one we tried, if that makes any sense at all.
A more viscous mouthfeel going on there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The other one was easier to drink, I think, for extended periods of time. This I could maybe, if I was having dessert or something after dessert, this might work well with that.
And this is a Scotch that comes down from the sort of the southern part of Scotland. It's not a Highland Scotch by any means.
Good.
Yeah, I know it's really tasty. I just think it's maybe people have an idea of, if you think of a peaty Scotch, or has that smoky. I'm not getting any of that.
Not that at all.
The Sauterne cask has really influenced this whiskey, and I think there are lots of people out there that maybe bourbon drinkers that like a sweeter bourbon, that sort of thing. I think this would be a Scotch for you. But there's also, are you getting any chocolate? I'm getting sort of a cocoa thing going too.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's a good description. That's what I mean. The thickness, the viscosity is totally different than the first one.
But it's also 43% alcohol, so 86 proof. It's not going to overwhelm your palate.
It's almost a little bitter.
On the finish, I am getting a little that spice is lingering on the finish for sure.
If you ever had baking chocolate, which has no sugar in it, this has the same sort of sensation to me as taking a small bite out of baking chocolate. That's just my lack of vocabulary.
No, I think that's spot on. Got a question from Karen, I wonder if that's real. Karen, is
Like
it?
here.
I hate what happened to Karens. Like, what
I
about the
know.
action? This is probably a real Karen, and now she's being vilified just
I
for having
know.
a name. But we love you, Karen. Karen wants to know, Mark, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen on the show, on Double Dare?
Double Dare. Weirdest thing. Well, there were two things that popped into my mind. We had this thing called the car wash, and when the adults were on, and this guy was a little bit bigger than the average bear, and as he went through it, we had those plastic pants so that when they got slime and stuff on them, we could sort of hose them off. His pants came off, and there he was sitting on the obstacle with his underwear in full view, and we actually showed credits on his ass. So that sort of rings in my mind. And the other is, when Family Double Dare first started, it started off as a kid show. It was, two kids against two kids, and then Family Double Dare happened, and we started to give away huge prizes, trips to Europe and cars and things like that. And the kids, they still didn't care about the prizes. They just wanted to get messy and have fun. But the parents took it very serious. And this family won. They got to the obstacle course. The clock was ticking. They got through obstacle number 7. The kid was reaching for the flag for obstacle number 8, and as he went to reach for it, it slipped through his hands, and the clock went to 00, and they didn't win, so it meant they didn't get the car. And backstage, his father had this kid by the throat and was holding him against the wall and saying, "You little SOB, I can't believe you didn't win that." Yeah. So we had to separate the parent and the kid and say, "Hey, man, it's a game show. You need to calm down and relax, and so it set a bad example." So, when you think about it, Double Dare was originally for kids and adults who understood what the show was about. This guy took it a little too serious. So that was the one thing that I noticed one time. I never saw any other parents lose it, but that guy really did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the kid kind of had it coming. I mean, you lost a car. I'm kidding.
Oh, my.
He was asking for it, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I put it this way. He got off easy. My parents, back then, if I would have lost my dad a car,
Yeah.
man, we wouldn't be doing this right now. We got a couple of questions coming in here. Thomas Hintonen wants to know, Mark, what did the slime taste like?
Well, back in the day there when we had to make it fresh every day, needless to say, and we had big insurance people around us 24/7 to make sure everything was safe, it mostly tastes like vanilla pudding. I mean, because that was a major base. So we brought in these gigantic mixers that you would put in industrial-sized bakeries that were like 6 feet tall, and there was this massive vat, and we would put in huge industrial-sized cans of vanilla pudding, and then the applesauce, and then the green food coloring. So it just tasted sweet. And the whole point was if a kid got it in their mouth, it had to be edible. Now they have a whole new thing now. I never tried the new stuff when we did the new shows, but there's a company that makes slime exclusively for Nickelodeon, actually. And so you can change, I'll use this term again, viscosity. So you can make it sort of thin so it runs, or clump thicker. And so when we were starting the new shows, they brought 6 different versions. And do you like the thick one, the medium one, the thin one? And it's more, I think, vegetable based than sort of real food kind of stuff. And I just didn't seem edible, but they told me it was, but I never tried the new version. The old stuff was pretty good, though.
Well, that was the level of care, I guess. So that was 86 around was Double Dare started?
Yeah, we shot from 86 to 94 initially, right?
Yeah, that was a level of care you didn't see necessarily in the 70s,
No.
In the 70s, they would have been like, who can, the 70s was the era that gave like lawn darts, looking back on lawn darts. I was like, who thought this was a good idea? Remember lawn darts? Let's get a heavily weighted pointy object and give it to children. Let them throw it at each other.
And have them throw it at other kids.
Yeah, so I got more questions here, though. We got, Sandy Abrams said, Dan, you're the highlight of my week. And you know what, Sandy Abrams? You're the highlight of my week. Thank you, Sandy. And she said, can I show if these scotches have legs? And let's see. Well, we can swirl it around. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. This one's got some legs coming down there. Sure. See it?
And what does that prove if they have legs? Explain that to me.
It's the oils in the whiskey. I frankly don't think many people get hung up too much anymore on, probably more with wine than with whiskey. I mean, The key indicators for me with a Scotch is going to be the nose. It's going to be the palate, the color. I like looking at the color because I think the color reveals a lot about, how much of the barrel aging has how much of the wood it's absorbed into, because this is where all the color comes from. Everything that comes off a still is clear. The color is coming. Well, I mean, there are spirits that they add coloring to, but hopefully not in this case. So,
hopefully you don't want to drink those, huh?
Let's fire off another question or two at Mark here. We're on question 3, I think. So you're 1 out of 2 you've gotten so far, Mark.
Okay.
All right. An actual question Mark once asked some kids on Double Dare. Now we'll see if he can get it right. Name the 2 actors who played Bob and Doug McKenzie in The Great White North. Who are the 2 actors?
That would be Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, I believe.
That is correct, sir. And who was who? Who was Bob?
Oh, boy. Was Rick Bob?
Rick was Bob. I knew it, man. I believed in you. I wish I hadn't put down 4 as the entry. I put down 4. Shit.
You put down 4. I'm sorry.
I put down
2
4.
so far?
You're already at 2 out of 3, so I'm probably going to lose the Flaviar membership this week. Let's do one more right now, or maybe even 2 more. Okay. Mark has now answered 2 out of 3 correctly. What TV show tries to solve the riddle of who killed Laura Palmer?
Twin Peaks, easy.
Twin Peaks, easy. 3 out of 4. All right. Now he's on a roll. Now look at him. Let's try to stump him here with a little math. Actual question from Double Dare. If you were to multiply the number of Gilligan's Island's castaways by the number of Brady Bunch children, how many TV characters would you have, Mark?
Not a shot. Alan Silverberg, who was our head writer, used to do these kind of questions all the time. Used to drive me crazy. I have no idea. Let's see. Gilligan's Island. Professor Marianne. Let's see. Gilligan. The skipper. Gilligan to Marianne. And that's why. I'll take a guess. 40.
How many castaways did you think there were?
I was trying to think. I thought there were. Was there 8?
How many Brady Bunch kids were there?
Brady Bunch. I never watched one episode of Brady Bunch, so that's where I'm screwed. I have no idea.
The correct answer is 42, Mark. 42. There were 6 Brady Bunch kids, and there were 7 castaways. Yeah, 42. So what is that? I don't know. I'm now my math is bad. What have you got now? You've gotten 3 out of 5. You're at 3 out of 5 right now.
Okay.
Would you care to venture a guess at how many you're going to get? You got 3 out of 5 right now. What do you think you're going to get?
6. 6 out of 10, probably.
So you believe in yourself, is what you're saying.
I'm going to suck at this. I know I'm just going down after this, man.
Mark's like, I don't know. Maybe I get 1 more.
Yeah.
Okay. You're doing good, though, man. We're going to get to the next Scotch in a second. I got some more questions, but people are firing in the questions here. Marie Fitzpatrick wants to know, can you use Scotch as a mixer? I don't think you can use it as a mixer. It can certainly have mixers. I'm assuming Marie means in a cocktail as opposed to just neat. And, of course, there are tons of cocktails that are made with Scotch. I mean, you got the Blood and Sand. Got the Rusty Nail. That's simple. Rusty Nail. You just got a blended Scotch and Drambuie.
Drambuie.
Yeah.
I had an uncle who had an ulcer, and he used to drink Scotch and milk. I remember.
Scotch and milk. Oh, yeah. That's the good stuff right there. I mean, you could do a Scotch sour, which is just Scotch and lemon juice and simple syrup, is an easy one. Bobby Burns. Robert Burns was the preeminent poet of Scotland. That's vermouth, Benedictine, and Scotch. So, Marie, there's tons of Scotch cocktails. The penicillin. Classic.
What's that?
Penicillin?
Yeah.
Honey, lemon, Scotch with a float on top. Yeah. Beautiful.
Now, I've heard of a rusty nail, but I don't know what's in a rusty nail besides Scotch.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm
passing away.
The Rusty Nail is just Drambuie and Scotch. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about 2 ounces of Scotch, and maybe a ½ ounce of Drambuie.
Nice.
That's it. Simple.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to think of Scotch cocktails, just think of Liam Neeson movies. He's played like, yeah. No, I don't know about that. Liam Neeson has played a lot of, he played Michael Collins, which is also a whiskey. He played Rob Roy, which is a cocktail. Yeah. So if you need to drink ideas, just look to the Liam Neeson filmography and you'll be fine. All right.
I love it.
Now we're going to do another whiskey. Are you ready, Mark?
Okay.
All right. This one we're going to do is, what are we doing? The Port of Skeg 110 proof. Okay. So this is 110 proof. It says it right there on the label. This one's going to pack a punch. So
this one is more clear than the other two. Why is that?
Okay, well, you're going to get the smoke on this one. So let me tell you, Port of Skeg is on Islay, which is an island on the west coast of Scotland. There isn't actually a distillery. I don't think Port of Skeg actually has a distillery. So they're sourcing this, and I'm pulling this out of my ass right now, but there's a distillery there called Cailleach. Cailleach is the distillery, and I'm going to assume that that's where they're getting this Port of Skeg from. Okay, let's. All right, so this is way different than when the first word is the smoke, right? It's a it's a very
never smoked anything in my life, believe it or not. But if I would, if I was smoking a cigar or something, that's what it would taste like.
Yeah, this is a very smoky Scotch.
Whoa.
Which is going to be, it's from the peat. They're using peat to smoke the barley that is used to make the Scotch, and that's where it's coming from. But
it's hot. It's kind of like it's hot.
Yeah, because of the alcohol content. It's 110 proof.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you're getting, it's this 55% alcohol. The two that we had prior to this were 43%. So a much more significant level of alcohol in it. This is not going to be a whiskey for a beginner. You know, this is going to be one. Yeah, but I'm also getting, there's some cloves in there, and
it smells like the earth. I mean, it tastes like the earth. That's what I can describe it.
You know what I'm getting, Mark? Good and plenty. I'm not joking. I'm getting licorice in there. You getting that licorice?
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah. That's pretty funny.
Good and plenty. So I wonder what has a higher caloric content. Would it be the stronach?
I would say
none of them. Oh, that's a good one, man. This is and by the way, when the time comes that we can travel again, and those of you out there who are interested in going and visiting distilleries, and I always recommend it, and Scotland's got to be top of the list of places to go. Definitely pencil in a trip to Islay if you go. I mean, Speyside is the most famous region. Then you got the Highlands. There's so many Scotches there, but Islay is such a unique experience. It's where the peatiest Scotches in the world come from, but it's just such a remote, beautiful place. Port of Skeg is the sound of Islay, and the sound of Islay is what separates Port of Skeg from an island called Jura, which is I also recommend going over to Jura. Jura is where George Orwell wrote 1984.
Really?
And I've actually hiked up. He wrote it in a tiny little stone cabin, and I hiked up there, and I'm talking, it's to get there is treacherous. Now, at the time that he wrote it, nobody was on that island. I mean, he wrote this book in the bleakest, coldest, darkest, windiest place imaginable. And it's hard to believe how uplifting 1984 is, given where he wrote it. I mean, it's like, man.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's where it happened.
Wow.
Let me see what we got going on here on the question front. People are coming at me here. Oh, let's see. Mark, Tim McIntyre wants to know, what was your favorite challenge to watch or host?
We did a thing called If I Knew You Were Coming, I'd Have Baked a Cake. And there were these rubber simulating layers of cake. And you would have to start, this was with family double dare, 4 people. So first person would have to put whipped cream on, pass it to the next person. And the last person at the end, seat number 4, had to stack them. And when I think 10 or 12 of them were stacked in 30 seconds, you pulled on a lever. And above them was this gigantic vat of icing, and the icing would just drench everybody. And for some reason, nothing made me laugh more than 4 people drenched in pink icing. There was another one called Pies in the Pants, where we would have to catapult pies to somebody wearing clown pants. I did that with Regis on his show once. He was not happy. So those 2 were probably my favorite.
So your enthusiasm, I mean, you genuinely enjoyed this. Like, this was fun.
Oh, hell yeah. I couldn't believe that I got a check at the end of the week because I was laughing my ass off the entire time, watching these people get trashed. Now, I think I did it in a friendly sort of way. When I watched Ellen, who basically stole our show, she seems to be vindictive. And I think, for my money, that's the wrong approach. But who knows? Seems to be working for her.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the new show that she's doing? Yeah.
No, not the new show. It's a show that basically was on television. She put her name on it and is doing it. But yeah, that show that she's doing.
Well, she's not getting good press now. But we'll jump all the way from here. Let's not trash. We've already done enough to ruin our careers, Mark.
I have no career left.
We admitted that we know Jack Benny.
It's up the street, so the hell with it.
Joseph Perkins wants to know, are you still filming new episodes of Unwrapped?
No, actually, we stopped a couple of years ago. We've been in conversations on and off for the last couple of years about bringing it back, but I wish they would. There was an article recently about the fact that people want some of the nostalgia and some of the older shows back, and I would love to do it. We for the longest time, we were the longest running show there. I think now Chop probably has his beat, but we shot so many episodes of Unwrapped, and it was the #1 show for years, back when Emeril and I were basically, Emeril's the reason Food Network exists. He was the guy who everybody flocked to see, but believe it or not, Unwrapped used to be Emeril on a regular basis. So I was Guy Fieri before Guy Fieri was. And by the way, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives is probably the most successful show in the history of Food Network. And Guy is probably the nicest human you'll ever want to meet. And so I'm happy for the channel and happy for his success. He's a great guy.
I've met Guy numerous times. I'm involved with a barbecue restaurant down here in Los Angeles called Baby Blues, and Guy has been gracious enough to feature us several times, including in his best of. If you ever come to LA, go to Baby Blues, tell them you know me, and they're not going to give you shit. No, they will. No, they'll give you a free refill soda.
He's the nicest guy in the world. The fact that he's helped all these businesses, throughout the years. And the reason the show is so successful is he's just the most likable human in the world.
It's infectious. It comes through. He really loves what he's doing. He's a genuine guy, and I think that comes through. All right, let's get back to the questions. I don't know where we're at here. Let's see. How many? Do you know where we're at here? All right, you got the first one wrong, the second one right, the third one right, the fourth one right. So you got 3 out of 4. Then you stumbled on the math, so that was 3 out of 5. Okay, so now we're at question 6. Oh, and this one could be a little controversial here, but here we go. The question, as it was asked on Double Dare, was, what is the most common presidential name?
I only know that because I used to write game shows before I hosted them, and I believe I wrote this question at one point, and I would say the name James would be the most used presidential name.
You're correct. You're now at 4 out of 6. But when you revealed the answer, on the show, you said there were 5 of them. 5 Jameses.
And how many are there?
You left one out. There were 6. 6 Jameses. So I'm going to name the ones that you said on the show.
Okay.
James Madison, Monroe, Polk, Cannon, Garfield. Another James, it was left out.
Really?
His real name is James.
Well, there was Jimmy Carter, but I don't think. Really?
Carter.
Was that it?
James,
Really?
James Earl Carter.
I never thought about that. I mean, it makes sense, but wow, that's weird. Wow.
I will say this. It was the 80s. Your research staff, you were in Florida. I'm guessing there was some Miami Vice stuff going on there. The research staff was like,
man, I do have stories about what was going on down there behind the scenes, but
they were all hopped up on Blow and Miami Sound Machine. So how are they supposed to get it right? No, I have no idea if that was going on. And Mark and I will talk about that off the air. So you're at 4 out of 6, Mark. Now let's go to question number 7. Now I'm modifying this because on the show you didn't ask what are they. You just asked how many. But I'm going to add, how many states begin with the letter W and what are they?
Oh my God. Wisconsin, Wyoming, Washington, West Virginia.
You got it, man. You got it.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. We had a cameraman. I got to tell you a funny story. We had a cameraman, Aldo Farnese. This guy was a star in Philly. He was a kid show host back in the 50s and 60s. We had a question once. What's the how many states begin with the letter F? And during the break, he said, "Come here." And I said, "What?" He said, "They all do." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "F in Ohio, F in Indiana, F."
That's great. You're on a roll, man. 5 out of 7.
That's it. But how many do I have right so far?
You got 5 out of 7. It's the whiskey. It's helping you. It's helping you. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a question here or a comment from Amy Yubikoff Yakubov. I love just messing up the names every week. She said the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups episode on Unwrapped was definitely my fave. What happened there?
I have no idea. I never went to one factory. That was the crazy thing. People said, well, the time I never went to a factory. I was either in a studio in a fake diner set, or I was actually at some diners, and towards the end we would go out on the road and be in supermarkets and stuff. I did go towards the end. I went to like the Tootsie Roll factory and stuff, but like 90% of those episodes, I never went to one factory. So I have no idea. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups is one of my favorites in the whole world, but I have no idea why she liked that show over any others. That's pretty funny.
She did. All right. Now you're at 5 out of 7. We're at question number 8.
Okay.
This is softball for you. I'm going to lob this one in, Mark. Monophobia. Monophobia is the fear of what?
I would assume being alone.
That is correct.
Okay.
Put that in there because I'm assuming a lot of people are probably suffering from monophobia right now. And all of you, Mark and I raise a glass and say, hey, hang in there.
L'chaim.
Getting through this. Here we go.
I have 7 right?
You're at 6 out of 8, I think, right?
6 out of 9. Good. Okay.
Yeah. 6 out of 8. I'm gonna throw $10 down against Keith, our director. Keith, I'm gonna bet you $10, and I'm just volunteering you to bet this, that Mark's gonna get these last 2 right. Are you in, Keith? Yes? Okay, good. Wait, what's it? Oh yeah, he's in. All right. $10.
Okay.
Here we go. Question number 9. What do we say you're at again? 6 out of 8. So you can possibly get 8 out of 10. That's where you're going.
Good. I'm happy.
And this one also could be controversial, this question. All right. I actually checked with a friend of mine on this question. Here we go. In poker, Mark, what are the 2 hands that beat a full house? What are the 2 hands that beat a full house in poker?
Oh, I would say a royal flush.
Royal flush is one.
Okay, the beat what? Full house?
Oh, wait, yeah. Well, what 2 hands beat a full house?
This has never happened to me in all the years I played poker. 4 of a kind.
4 of a kind. And You said a royal flush. So on the show, the answer was four of a kind and a straight flush. So when I was watching it, I immediately thought, what about a royal flush? So I consulted a friend of mine who is kind of a professional poker player, and I said, does the royal flush count as a separate hand? So would it be a four of a kind, straight flush, royal flush? He said generally no. I asked him, when I said what beats it, when I just asked him straight up before I even said anything, I said, what beats a full house? And he said four of a kind and a straight flush. And I asked him about the royal flush, and he said some people consider it a separate hand, but it's just a variation on the straight flush. It doesn't get you anything more. But I would say this.
Do I get credit for this?
Well, I guess the question would be this: if someone had a straight flush, the royal flush would beat it, correct?
Yeah.
So that's gotta be a separate hand.
Okay.
Again, the research team there at Double Dare. By the way, I am traumatizing people in that right now from their chat. They're like, no, la, don't say this. Double Dare. So, all right. So we're giving you that. You got that one. So you're at 7 out of 9.
Thank you.
Feel like we should before we get to the final question, we should have some more whiskey.
Sure. I'm going to go back to the very first one because I thought that was the most drinkable and maybe the one I enjoyed the most.
The Stronach 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And that's a good one. That's an easy one.
I like it. I throw a little crushed ice in there and I could drink that thing all night.
And we probably will when we get done. Yeah. Mark's going to be calling me later after going, no, oh my God, you don't even know all those stories. Yeah. I'll tell you. By the way, anybody out there nobody was doing drugs on Double Dare. Okay? As far as you know. All right. Final question. This is Mark going. If he gets this right, he's got 8 out of 10, 80%. I think you've exceeded your own expectations. You said 6.
Far more than I would have ever believed.
And I'm pulling for you here, buddy. I'm pulling for you. I want you to get this. Here we go. Historically, who is credited with saying, Eureka, I found it?
Archimedes.
I'm giving you the slow clap. You got it. You got Archimedes, the great Greek mathematician, philosopher, said, Eureka, I have found it. Now,
see, I'm not just another pretty face, you know?
What's that?
I'm not just another pretty face. I have a little bit of a brain.
You got the
what
brains.
did I miss? I missed the math question. And what was the other one?
You missed the Brady Bunch question, which was there were 7 castaways, 6 Brady children, and you missed Good and Plenty.
Yeah, Good and Plenty. I can't believe that one. Doggone it. That pissed me off.
And I got to tell you, I would have missed that too. I mean, I would have.
Chocolate would be more caloric than licorice, for God's sakes.
Well, the other 2 choices were plain M&Ms and 3 Musketeers, and it was what has more calories per ounce. I would have gone Musketeers, right?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Because what's in a 3 Musketeers? You got nougat.
A lot of chocolate. It's nougat, one of my favorite words in the whole world.
Chocolate,
but it's,
nougat. I think there was salmon. Was there salmon in there in the 3 Musketeers?
I don't think so.
There was blood of the people that died at the Bastille because they were doing the whole French thing. Nobody knows. They don't discuss that when they talk about when it went into the 3 Musketeer bar. Well, Mark, you got 8 out of 10.
So who wins?
You're not getting slimed. Okay.
Good.
There was not a sliming there.
Thank you.
So I got to say, Keith, let's get some of these entries here. Who got 8? Whoever picked 8. It's going to take a couple seconds here for them to get it to whoever picked 8, and then the tiebreaker, which would be, what would you? So I'm going to ask you. We don't know what they're going to put in while we're waiting for the results to come in. Mark, what would you normally be eating with Scotch?
Well, this is going to sound absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Well, two things. Normally, I would have smoked salmon on little pieces of toast. Okay, that would be probably the keep it Scotch all the way. Do Scotch smoked salmon and Scotch. But my favorite food in the entire world that I could eat 7 days a week, probably twice a day, pizza. And I would do pizza and Scotch, believe it or not.
But you're a food guy. Don't
Yeah.
you? It would seem to me that the Scotch would overpower, like would the cheese on the pizza pair well with Scotch?
Anything pairs well with pizza. I got to tell you, there's just something magical about pizza. It's bread, it's tomato and cheese. How bad can that be? And so, one would think you get a filet mignon with Scotch or something like that, and that all works well. But I can eat pizza for breakfast. I can eat it for dinner, for a snack. It's got to be good pizza. I mean, Mark Vetri makes probably the best pizza in the entire world. But East Coast pizza, it's hard to find. We have one pizza place here in Santa Barbara, but the people started in Brooklyn and moved out here, and that's why it's so good. But most California pizza sucks.
Okay, all right. Well, we got.
Do you have a favorite place in California where you get pizza?
Well, there is. Joe's from New York opened in Santa Monica. There's a Joe's Pizza in New York that opened up that I really like. I mean, I'm a purist. I'm from the East Coast, so I really like East Coast style pizza, New York style, Philly. But the thing they have down here in LA is, they got a lot of like the mozza style pizzas, the brick, which they do it fantastic. But I don't know that I consider that. I know it is pizza, and I know it's definitely more European style. But in terms of the traditional East Coast style pizza, I got a place down the street called Johnny's New York style pizza that's perfectly fine. It's good. It's the thin crust. It's a little crisp. It's nice. You got me up. Now I'm thinking I'm going to order it as soon as I get off the show here tonight because I am hungry. All right, here we go, Mark. I want to see what we got here.
You got to read a newspaper in order for it to be good, in my.
Yeah, right. All right, we got 8 correct answers. Okay, 8 correct answers.
Wow.
Here we go. I'm saying, okay, here are the people that gave these are what we have to choose from. So, Mark, you're going to make the final decision on who wins the Flaviar membership based on the snack that they chose. That right now, you could have this snack. All right. First one is Jeanette JP, or I guess that's a nickname, Peretta Hellinski. Jeanette. She said you were going to get 8, and you got 8. She said the snack that you would like to have right now is peanuts. All right? Peanuts. Michelle Leonce. This is my favorite part. Let me have some whiskey. I'm going to have some whiskey and screw that name up even worse. Michelle Leonce said you'd like ballpark food. Seems a little general, but I can see what she's going for there because she's trying to get you on you're probably longing to be out. You got the Red Sox hat on. You're thinking about the game. She's clever, that Michelle. All right. Very clever. All right. Tim Wacker said you'd like to have smoked almonds. Smoked almonds. All right. With your Scotch. Pammy Pam. I know her. Pammy Pam. Oh. Pammy Pam says cheese and crackers with your Scotch. And finally, get out. Come on. Wait a minute. Keith, I got to ask you this. Are you sure this answer came in before the cutoff? Yes? Hold on. Correct. This answer came in before the cutoff, Mark. Mia Apasone, what do you think she said you were going to eat with your Scotch?
Pizza?
Boom.
Really?
We have our winner, right?
He wins. She wins. Congratulations.
Mia, congratulations. You've got a Flaviar membership. You're part of the club now. You're one of us. Mark's damn proud of you, aren't you?
I am. But do you want to be a member of a club that, will accept you, as the old Groucho Marx line? That's a scary thing.
Well, any club that'll have me, I don't want to be part of. Well, listen, Marc Summers, where can people find you on? Are you on the social medias? Are you?
It's Real Marc Summers on Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook. And then you go to marcsummerstv.com. That's my website. You can go there. And, we're just having fun here. Just hoping this COVID thing goes away real soon so we can all get back to normal. But my sources say another 18 to 24 months of this fun. So stand by.
Oh. Well, that's now I got to get. Oh wait, hold on. Yep, there we go.
Got to drink some Scotch now.
We're going to be drinking some Scotch. I want to thank you, Marc, for doing this, man. It was really, really a pleasure to chat with you tonight. And I want to thank everybody at home for joining us. We're taking a couple of weeks off because I got a lot of stuff going on here at my home alone. But I'll be back. We'll be back in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. We'll be back. Doing this again on NightCap Live. Marc Summers, you are a scholar and a gentleman, and I say that because you got 80% of the questions that children got right. But yeah, it counts, man. It counts. And now let's order some pizza and drink the rest of this whiskey.
Have a nice evening. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, man. See you, everybody. See you in a couple weeks.
Bye-bye.